Right, hello crew. Today we are at Mapledurham House and we are at the World at War Show. Loads of things going on. See, they've got the old watermill there. Ooh. And first thing we're going to go in and see is amphibious vehicles from World War II going into the water. Hopefully not sinking. So here we go. We're going back to 1940s.
It's going to happen at the mill pond. That's just as you walked in on your right, you saw the mill and there's a pond in front of it, at the top end of the showground. And we're going to see a display of amphibious vehicles, two Ford GPAs. These are amphibious Jeeps, and they will be going for a swim in a few minutes. So well worth going up.
Well, we get ourselves to this pond then. Sink or swim. Right, we're just waiting for the amphibious vehicles, which are lining up over there and ending up in there.
Testing. Okay, well, good morning everybody. Welcome to Mapledurham At War. This is the first display of the day. We like to start with getting our feet wet. Hopefully not literally. We're lucky to have here today two GPAs. These were the amphibious version of the very famous wartime Jeep. They were designed in 1942, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them when we get on the water. Both of these GPAs were found in Brazil, and both of them have been restored by the gentleman behind me who's driving the second GPA. That's Mike Salwood of R&R Services. Done a beautiful job on both of these restorations to make them fully functioning and able to go in the water, just like they did back in the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the mill pond, and we'll be going around, and I'll be talking to you a little bit, telling you a bit about these wonderful vehicles as we go around. The mic should work a bit better when I'm in the water. The mic should work better when I'm in the water. I'll be closer to the receiver, so you'll be able to hear better. I'm just going to go quiet for a little bit so I can concentrate on pulling all these various levers that my co-pilot here is going to tell me what they mean.
And no life jackets.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me, yeah? Good. Alright, so, Mike, if you just stay there, stay on the ramp just for a moment, and I'll just explain to people. It's a very strange sensation as you go from a land-based vehicle, where you can feel every little bump as the wheels go along the ground, to a boat, which doesn't really move like a car at all, and is more of a wallowing sensation. You get that happen very quickly when you're going into the water with an amphibious vehicle. So what Mike will be doing now, he'll be engaging the propeller, so that's ready for when he goes into the water, and he'll be getting ready to disengage his wheels, because we don't have the wheels turning when we're in the water. A GPA, like most boats, because of the direction of the screw, turns better in one direction than the other. They go better round to the left, so we'll be doing little circuits in the mill pond here round to the left.
Oh, I don't need it from you.
Mike's got some passengers you see in there. So
Just make sure the internet can see you having fun.
Thank you.
It's not a
I
problem.
love you too.
And the red robin.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. Right, so these are the famous GPA 2. Just after they start, they built 4,000. Together with a British yacht designer and an American yacht company, and they designed 2 vehicles in 4 months. The first one was the Duck. That was designed in the first 2 months, and then came the GPA in the next 2 months. And you can see they're very similar in shape. They have that duck-billed platypus nose to them, and it's not surprising. They were both designed by the same people. Very quickly, they put their prototypes together. There were 2 competing examples. The Americans had it sorted in the war, and they would always put things out to tender, and they'd always have a competition. So Marmington Harrington, they had one design. They made theirs a bit like an armoured car. It was made out of solid sheets of steel. And then Ford made this one, which was a car design with pretty thin tin over the top on the common chassis underneath. The Ford one was 200 kilograms lighter than the Marmington Harrington one, and it got the tender. So they only built 8,000 of these, which is not many when you think that the wartime Jeep, they built 500,000 of those. So 8,000 built in the war. We don't know how many are left. It's not many, and it's even less that are fully functioning and capable to go on the water, because as you can imagine, anything that you get wet very often is going to suffer from rust, and then rust holes are obviously not a good idea when you're wanting to go out swimming. So in terms of functioning GPAs, there may be 50, perhaps at most 100 in the world, and in this country there's only a handful. So we're very lucky to have these 2 vehicles here today. Of course, they have not always just had a military application. There's been a few mad people who have tried to turn them in, and tried very successfully to turn them into ocean travelling vehicles. There was an Australian called Ben Carlin who was in the services, Allied services, and he was in India. And after the war, they'd give you 1 ticket. Most people would use their ticket to go home. Ben, being an Australian, used his ticket to go to America because he'd heard about these amphibious Jeeps. He went to the auctions after the war, and he bought himself a GPA. He then decided to get home that way. So he made it a little bit more seaworthy than the normal format that you see here. He put a superstructure on it, and he sailed it across the Atlantic. Quite brave when you think there were no satellite phones, there were no safety precautions really at all. He did actually break down once and got rescued by a trawler, but it was only by chance, because as you can see they're very low in the water, and they're not easy to see in the middle of the Atlantic. He came back, repaired it, and had another go, made it across to England, where he took it out of the water, realised that the rust had got to it and had to give it a whole new skin, got back in it again and took it to Australia, and it's in a museum in Australia. So these things are actually quite capable of quite a turn of speed. Mike's just going to show us now. We'll just do a little dance, so a little bit more revolutions, Michael. See that Mike just touched the bottom there. That was the little rock in his motion. And of course the advantage here is if you do run aground, most normal boats get stuck, but not a GPA. You just engage the wheels again and off you go. So the thing about an amphib, of course, is you don't just go into the water, you come out. So we're going to start to prepare to come out. Mike's just getting a bit rid of his ballast there. He's operating the bilge pump. It's coming out of the left-hand side of the vehicle halfway along. That's where the original mechanical bilge pump, which these were fitted with, and both of these vehicles have, that pumps out of that hole. We also nowadays run electric pumps, just in case there was a mechanical failure, because of course if your engine stops with a mechanical pump, that's it, you're not able to get yourself out of trouble, but with an electric pump at least you stand a chance. Both of these GPAs were here last year for the Amphib meeting, which is a meeting of 60 vehicles we had last year, 60 amphibious vehicles on the Thames, and we had one day here at Mapledurham, and we put them all up on the Mill Island, which is just the other side of you here, to the side of the mill. And of course there's no way to get to that Mill Island except by river. So we think it's the first time in the history of the estate that there were ever 60 cars parked on the Mill Island. So Mike, are you ready to come out? Mike? You ready to come out? Yep. Okay, so Mike's going to come out now. You'll see that what he's going to do, he's going to get himself lined up with a reasonable approach speed, but nothing amazingly fast. He's got quite a lot of weight on board to pull up the ramp. He'll be engaging first gear. That's the gear that we come out in. He'll be engaging his front axle because he needs the front wheels to pull himself up the ramp. And then all good GPA drivers actually knock out their propeller, their water propeller, just as they're coming up the ramp, because the water propellers are designed to run in the water where they're cooled, but not designed to run on land where they overheat. So I can see his wheels turning. That's a good sign. Here he comes. We're going to give him a round of applause when he gets up the ramp. There we go. He's got traction, and there he goes. Well done, Mike. Right, I'm just going to do one circuit round again because it just allows me to get my levers sorted out. So I'll be putting the microphone down again as we come out. But same format. This is second gear for cruising. You can see you go a lot quicker in the water in second. I just use that to get a bit of pace so we can get straight, a bit of steerage way, and then I'll be dropping down to first and engaging the front axle as we approach the slip. So I'm going to turn the mic off now, and we'll be coming up the ramp very soon.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Nigel and Mike. Fabulous, fabulous event there. We are the only show, Mapledurham at War, to have the amphibious element of reenactment. So a warm, warm round of applause to both of them. Thank you. Just following on from that amphibious entry, as you walked in through the entrance, ladies and gentlemen, if you look to your right, you might not have noticed it, but there is a little ship. And as you know, at Dunkirk, right at the start of the war, there was a tremendous rescue operation. I don't know whether you've seen the movie come out, but there's a tremendous rescue operation bringing back troops from the beaches of Dunkirk. One of those little ships is right there, the other side of the mill as you walk in, and that particular ship brought back a total of 2,500 troops. 2,500 troops. It was in fact a lifeboat. It's just been converted. Oh, Mike's got excited. Sorry to interrupt you. He's keen for another go. If you can't sink it the first time, have another crack at it.
Yeah, right.
He's going again.
So that little ship, ladies and gentlemen, was a converted lifeboat. It is a converted lifeboat, and it went over to and from the beaches of Normandy. Richard owns it, and I'm sure he would be keen for you to look at it. It's now hired out as a cruising boat, so you can actually hire on it. It takes up to 12 people in beautiful old Victorian surroundings with bone china and so on. But the military history, this side is absolutely fantastic.